the shift.
Welcome, shifties.
We have cards. We have 2 of them. And we have lots and lots of wands.
6 of Wands and 8 of Wands.
8 of wands is the hidden. There we are, to infinity and beyond.
It's a cool screen.
It is pretty cool that it does that. Yes, so the Six of Wands is our main card over here with our beautiful little groupies riding off in a celebration. And then the Eight of Wands with our bird friend flying with the wands. I don't know Pokemon, so I can't speak to names.
Well, the regular card doesn't even have, it only has sticks on the 8. So they added this extra firebird.
And it's a predator bird with the kind of beak it has, or what do you call it?
Yeah, it's a hawk.
Oh, okay. Hello. A red hawk. It's a bird from the east. So it's spirit bird for sure.
I think it's a beautiful depiction of someone being in their power and like Pikachu's over there in the background like hiding. Or maybe like his eyes maybe is a little bit envious in some ways, but this hawk just feels like he's in his power and he's going like really actively pursuing what he wants to pursue.
That's actually a Pikachu house.
With the wands, it feels like it's a fully supported step. In my own personal meditations and stuff and other interactions, it's been coming out a lot lately to stop holding back, to stop playing small, to stop staying in these limited, broken, less than, I need to fix myself mindsets, and start just soaring like this. And one thing that stuck out to me is it's interesting that the celebration card is the main card, right? And then the more individual card is the hidden energy, because the first thing that stuck out to me with the Six of Wands was like, it's just a group celebration. Like, we're celebrating, all of these things, we're having victories, and then it kind of hit me on a deeper level that we are also being celebrated by our teams and our guides, our higher selves. And so we are just fully supported and celebrated in every way, even when it's not quite so apparent, and the support doesn't come in ways that we would think it would, or they're a little more difficult to recognize. Sometimes it's people or events or just things that come into our minds, downloads. And so I just think they both go together so well if we're willing to just step out and be.
Yeah. Ooh, really great, because I just got out of the celebration and the way that you talked about it. I'm thinking about the numbers for one thing, and the number 6. Well, 3 is so powerful, and then twice that. So there's that level of power, but there's also community, is what I heard in what you said. It's not just, they're not celebrating alone. Yeah, but it's been community that brought the celebration and is celebrating. And I also heard completion, because we talked about the wreath being Christmas. Well, that's the completion of the year. And so we're whole and complete. And let's take off. And 8 is the number for magic. So we're a company. Let's go. And it just gives me chills. That's beautiful what you guys said that.
Yeah, and I think it goes to say that when we are in our power, when we are like truly, we've really identified who we are and what we want and what we want to pursue, that it benefits everyone else, that it benefits the community. And that's the process of individuation, that process of becoming an individual, becoming indivisible, becoming one with yourself. And in that process, you specialize. You don't necessarily become a jack of all trades, but you specialize in who you are. And sometimes jack of all trades is your specialty, but it's not necessarily that you have to become everything. You don't have to be you don't have to be this perfect everything that you can be able to do whatever anybody else does. It's more, this is what you enjoy, this is what you're called to, and you dive into that place, that process, and you master it. You master yourself, you master who you are and who you want to be. And I think that process of individuation is, it it gives you your niche, and then that in that niche you're benefiting the habitat, the community, everybody else who is a part of your life.
I feel like these cards are really relevant to so many of us right now. For me, like I definitely feel like yes, I mean today I got a phone call that I got a job. They're just waiting on something to respond about something. So that's good news. And I
Congrats.
also thank you. And also like I was saying last week, like I've just started speaking up a little bit more. You know, I just writing like a review about that bad experience I had as opposed to just always suppressing everything down, all the upset, and just deciding, kind of like Stephen was saying, instead of constantly criticizing and trying to fix yourself, being like, I'm okay, I can act from here. Of course, we can always improve, but there is a certain power in just saying, I'm not broken, that needs to be fixed. I can continue on and just evolve as opposed to thinking I need to correct things. I feel like it's so applicable like in a couple of our lives, in our situations, because I do feel like I'm stepping into a more confident, optimistic, a more focused mindset now. And I mean, just with what's going on in my friend's life and everyone else, like I can see it around me. When you were speaking earlier, Stephen, when you were saying like we don't always feel supported, and sometimes it is there, it's invisible. Like that is a huge part of how I've been feeling because I don't know. Obviously, most of us don't know what's on the other side, but I don't know who's there. I don't know if anyone's there, and it feels really lonely because here in this human realm, things have been lonely for so long. So you kind of just apply that logic to everything. And it is nice to get a reminder like, hey, all your hard work is paying off. You are not alone. I know it's hard, but you can celebrate yourself. You can enjoy these little moments. You don't have to always be nitpicking and tearing yourself apart. I don't know. It's every time we do these, they're just so spot on to what I feel like is going on in our lives.
I've just been studying the Pokemon over here because you've got all these little small rat, Pokemon, and then the Predator. But they also have like Garchomp on their side,
Mm-hmm.
so they're okay. Because it feels like, I'm like, what's the purpose of having these guys with this? Because Elias pointed out Pikachu, but it's a little Pikachu hut. It's not it's just like his just the top of his head, which ties it in with all the other rats, I think, or mice, and I feel like it also makes them safer because of that. These, I think, a lot of them are electric rats. What's funny is that this Garchomp is like a sand guy too. I get the sense of like there's this, because one is what's up out in the open, what's being presented, what's visible, what the experience is. And the other is like what's behind that, what's running this, what's fueling this. So what's fueling this celebration and the experience of tiny but mighty is the perfection of this. The 8 is supposed to be the perfection of the suit, and this is just a couple of steps behind where you're headed. So it's like you're almost there. You're like stable enough, secure enough to celebrate the perfection what's already being. It's like a given now because you're getting in that perfect alignment. So you're starting to experience, and I think that's the reason why there's all these little rats or little mice and a prey, because there's always that, like, as you're growing, as you're evolving, you have that experience of like, this is kind of, scary, what's coming up, you have to deal with the resistance of you moving into what's next, the perfection of your alignment with what you're manifesting or what you're creating.
Yeah. Can I accept that, no matter what is going on in my physical existence or situation, that I am the being of me is perfect. It's right where it's supposed to be. It's expanding in just the way that it's supposed to expand. Absolutely. I so love the way you put that. That that hit right.
It's so funny, yeah, because like what was hidden behind that is the devil. It's like hidden behind the hidden was the devil. It's like, I see you, because it is. It's like it's just that little, that it's so right there. Like any little thing, if you don't maintain yourself, like you can waver and all this stuff, but this is really showing you that you're in that space where you know you're pretty solid. Keep this momentum going, and you're good no matter what predators are out, no matter what devil's speaking. You're pretty solid in where you're standing in the celebration of it.
In the midst of it all, and in the face of your circumstances, whatever that is, because we all have that outward circumstances right now, and doesn't mean we can't celebrate. We can, especially what came to me this week was love what you do. It's not that I'd always heard it, do what you love, but that didn't speak to me. And I mean, that's good too. It's not that it's wrong. But when I chose to enjoy what I'm doing in this moment, no matter what, I just started manifesting. It was really incredible. And, enjoying every moment is loving myself. That is exactly what that is. It's like listening and honoring and following. And it isn't about even what you're learning or what you ought to be doing or any of that. It's just following the guidance that you already have and have had all along.
I had a session done on myself, a quantum healing session done on myself a few weeks ago. And in re-listening, one of the things that hit me really hard was my subconscious, my higher self, saying that we are connected as the beach is connected to the ocean where they meet. That connection is always there, and it's always open and being represented. It's only how much we're able to enter into it with love and acceptance and an open heart and an open mind. And that is, where our connection deepens, where we expand, where we really grow. Yeah, that's so awesome.
And it also deepens when the devil comes along too. It's whatever those trials are. In a conversation that I had with a family member, we'll say, and saying you're an instigator. And I thought it was just meanness, and had, like a smart ass remark back of like, well, I can't be any other way if that's the way you listen to me. But I also took it on and I was like, I mean, yeah, maybe he's being mean, but why don't I look at that? And I started looking at not just my responses with him, but to other times. And certainly as a kid, practicing with sisters. So bringing all of it. And it's just that awareness. I call it the devil when it pops up like that, to pay attention. That's it. Not to judge it or whatever the devil is, or, we can call it whatever we want, just like we can call God whatever we want. But yeah, it's that coming along and being in the greatness of the moment and also aware of when it's not so great. And for me, then community is accessible even through guides. So, or is it time to go use one of the tools that we all have? Just whichever one calls us.
Bob Ross says you can't have light without the dark, and we have to learn to appreciate the dark too, you know? Like, it is easy to tell people love what you do, but some people don't have that luxury. You know, they're house cleaners, they are cab drivers, they work in janitorial, whatever it is. But if you do what you do with love, like you said, like that is a form of loving yourself, of being present, of accepting and not just adding stress to you. Because yeah, sometimes we're not in a great mood. Sometimes things aren't wonderful in our lives, and it's nice to remember to appreciate those moments too, as weird as it is, as hard as it is.
Came to me while I was doing the dishes. So I knew it was that, the mundane part. And it wasn't like I hated the dishes. I actually had gone through a long time of hating them and had gotten to loving them. And then now, just while doing it, I was like, oh. And I do think that it's a really good explanation for the phrase chop wood, carry water. It's what are the mundane things that occur in your life that are repetitive and you want to check out easily and you're not there anymore and you just get it done because it's a skill, but you're still not present. And so when you're present enough to love what you're doing in the moment, then there's more aliveness available. More you available is what I get, more authenticity.
It's funny for me, every single job I've had was the best job ever. And this is it's just an attitude. It wasn't about that I love what I'm doing. It might have been that I love that I'm working. So it didn't even occur to me that the job could have been a crappy job. It was about working. I'm doing something productive. That's why I'm like, because this has been my issue is like, I've wanted to try everything. Like I want to do it all. And I've just thought I'm so easily amused that it's really like I will convince myself that the job that I'm at is the best one. This is everything, right? So that's been my issue, and I've tried going after all of my dreams because I've had a lot of dreams, and whatever somebody else says, oh, you'd be really good at that, and I'll go try it. I'm like, yeah, you're right, I will, and let me go see. So that's been my thing is like I've just thought I don't have a purpose. There's not really a place for me. I'm just going to see where I land, but I want to try everything because of this attitude of like I love everything that I do. Probably just because I'm doing it. It's me doing it.
I really felt your like soul coming through on that one. Like with the I want to do it all. I want to experience it all. Like, and even in our sessions, I so feel that in you. Like you are here to get the full experience. Like you are not gonna let go until you get the full experience. And I so love that about you, my friend. It's
Awesome. It's funny. I also thought as Solma was talking about something else, there was another thought that came up about the devil. Even when like, the space that you're in, it's like the devil may come, but you're gonna recognize it. And that's what I heard and what you were saying is like, it's not gonna sneak up on you because you're in this state of like that's just gonna be a sneaky thing. So I am gonna try this thing on. Even though I know it's not me. I'm still going to try it on, right? That's another thing that I would take on too. It's like no matter what anybody said. At first, I defend myself and then I'm like, no, but all right, I'm going to try it on anyways. I'm going to try it on for a full week to see, you know, if they have a point because I want to see what's going to uproot, what's going to, where's this trigger from? Is it from just not being understood or whatever? Or is it because there is actually something there. So I'm going to learn something either way. Either I can own it or it's not. It's the willingness, because you're so I mean, you're celebrating. So now you can take on anything, and it is probably like taking on any job, because I'm just celebrating being alive, right? I've always been a happy, joyful person.
Being alive, celebrating life, celebrating being alive, and you're just experiencing it so fully that that's all there is to do. And that's what comes along with willing to be in every moment, no matter which one shows up. And that is, you're choosing that moment. Go to this again. But it's like, the experience of the sadness of the conditions in the world that can be a collective sadness, not mine. I don't have to have it in my day all day long, but to be present once in a while. Oh, there it is again. And being with it is what I got, was all there is to do with it. I don't have to cry about it. I don't have to, like, you know, call somebody and talk to them about it necessarily. I don't, and not that, and if I wanted to, then that would be fine, but I don't have to. It's just being with it, letting it be. Oh, there it is again. Just witnessing, I guess is what people call it, witnessing it, so that it, not even intentional, so that it will go away. Because yeah, that's the first thing. Oh, well, why is that here again? I don't want that. But just being with it lets it be. And then it's not yours. It's not you. It's not who you are. I don't have to experience it, but it's not shutting it off. It's really letting it be heard.
As you were saying that, and I'm thinking of my current experience and wanting to be in that, I'm realizing, like, as this conversation is unraveling, that has been one of my struggles in this, is being such a joyful person, being so active, being as alive as I am, to be alive and down and with all these really painful emotional experiences. It's been hard to remember that I do want this experience, because I want it. I want to experience all of this while it's here, while it's wanting to continue being here, and not trying to force it out, rush it out. It's teaching me a level of patience that, you know, I was already told that I have a patience of a saint, but with myself, that's a different, that's a different experience. So it is. I think that's the biggest thing that has been grounding me in my medicine, is because what I've been giving to others, not realizing that it's not what I'm giving back to myself until I've gone through it and had to learn to give it to myself. It just reminds me of something that Elias and I were talking about on Monday about Carl Jung, the Red Book. And there was this one chapter that was talking about how Jesus has spoiled Christians because they've learned to put their trust in something outside of themselves. And what I've been trying to do, and I think Elias too, was like, we're actually trying to, or I am trying to take full responsibility, bring it back inside here so that I experience it. And I think that's the same, or correlated with what I just said right before about, what I've been giving, what I've been doing, what I've been mirroring, is now I'm doing it for myself from within. And I think that's why I've been so grounded, shifted by this whole experience.
This conversation has been, it's brought up some interesting thoughts as I've been sitting here thinking, and putting it back to what we were talking about of um, this idea of acceptance of self. I think that's something that I look at, and the big question that kept popping into me kept popping into my mind was, if I accept myself, is that me saying that I don't want to change in some ways, or is that me saying that I accept my current state of being? The big question was, I accept myself. Does that help me change, or does that mean that I don't have to change? And I think the answer to that is we're always changing. That's always going to happen. Time only happens because there's change. If there was no change, then time would cease to exist. And it brought me to thinking of teachers, thinking of Twitchy and Eliane and how she would bring a aspect of teaching to you, or going to a teacher for help and then pointing out things in your life that are going on. And it also brought back this idea of my ex-wife and how she would ask me to change in certain ways. And then a specific comment saying that she would point out these different things, but I wouldn't ever change. And for me, it kept going back to this thought of, what do I want to experience? What is it that I want out of my life? How do I want to present myself? And so a teacher comes to me and says that they point out something that they observe. In my opinion, a true teacher isn't someone who says, this is what I observe and I want you to change like this. It's up to me to accept that suggestion or accept that observation and have a desire to experience something different. Similar to how Avra was saying that she wants to experience it all. She just wants to try it. But for me, I have to say, do I want this experience? Do I want to change who I am to experience something different? And same thing with somebody else who wants me to change in a certain way. They still need my permission for me to change myself. Like, you can't change someone without their permission to want to experience something different. And so I think it's a really interesting thought that I keep having of, what is my desire and what is my control over somebody else, and what's the control from that somebody else has over me.
There was an interesting conversation on boundaries that I heard. I think it was when there was some celebrity, I don't know, gossip thing, and people were discussing what a boundary is and how your boundary is never about controlling another, which a lot of people do. We get confused by that because it isn't supposed to be, like in a relationship where you're not like, I don't want you to come home past 10 p.m. It's supposed to be something like, when you come home after 10 p.m., it makes me feel insecure, unwanted, unsafe. And if you keep doing that, then I will leave. That's supposed to be the boundary. It's not, you're not allowed to come home after this time. That's not something that's acceptable. It's not about controlling others. It's about saying, okay, well, I notice that this is an action or behavior and I'm not comfortable with this, and this is how to be. Where I do think a lot, and it is confusing for us, but a lot of us do get really confused and we try to change others around us. And it's sometimes it's a way of not dealing with your own stuff. Oftentimes I do notice that when we're focused on others, it's because we're not focused on ourselves, right? The only thing that we actually can control is ourselves.
I just like that point of boundaries, that a boundary can never be to control somebody else. I mean, you can try, you can put that discomfort on somebody and try to control them through your own emotional discomfort that you send their way. And it works. But I think, to be respectful, a boundary is, this is the behavior that this is the event or the behavior that's happening that you're doing, and this is how I feel, and this is what I'm going to do to change the situation. So if you come back home at 10 p.m., I'm going to act a certain way, and if you don't like that, then you can change or whatever. But the boundary is, this is what I'm going to do to protect my sanity or protect my whatever it is that I feel like I need inside of myself at that time. And I think that's a really good point to clarify. That's like what that boundary really should be.
Point to the communication of it, because that same lesson, I'll say, for my kids when they were teen, I simply said, you guys are like 17 now, and or earlier, 16, 15. And you want to start knowing that when you don't live here, you're going to need to be in communication with the person who you are with, like staying with, living with, partner, whatever. And you're going to want to let them know where you are. You're going to be courteous with them. And that's all I'm asking for. For us to say, you're going to be home, this would be the best time. If you can't, be in communication, not, this is not an imposition. It was actually serving both of us out of a different kind of communication. It's just the way it unfolded at the time. And the only other thing about boundaries I wanted to say was protect yourself and no longer be around the people that are treating you a certain way. Well, that's fine. And you can do that without telling them. But it's often when the person is not, I'll say, healed to the point to have a conversation or something, it's easy to go to cut them out of your life. People do that. They just like, okay, this is the line, cut them out of their life. And it's pretty cute because I have a person in my family who has said that about her friend sister. She's had 3 different times or so to where she would just cut her out of her life. And obviously, she would also let her back in. And people kind of forget that too, that it's part of life in relationship to where you can go in and out. We just do that. The other question I had, though, was because you were talking, Elias, about the person setting a boundary to control you. And I don't know if that's what you said, but that's what I want to speak to, because there are things that may not be my business that I point out to my husband. And I do look at within myself. However, I looked at the language that I can use. Sometimes it's accepted according to how it's spoken. And I guess when it isn't accepted, that's when I'm the instigator. But it made me go to the place of like, oh, but the female male thing. Is it a male tendency to think that because someone shows you something about you, like as feedback or whatever, then no matter what it is in the day, it's just like, as the reaction is as if they're being controlled.
What you're saying brings me back to the conversation that Evra and I were having on Monday, where I was having problems with this idea of serving and a master in this way of like a master being almost like a slave driver type person. And I think sometimes like in our society, we've confused the master to be that slave driver, where a master is one that has mastered their own self. And in mastering one's own self, you're not in a business of controlling yourself, but in a business of understanding and listening to yourself and understanding how to interact with those different components of yourself. And so to me, a master teacher would be very similar in that they understand themselves and they understand how to interact with you in a way that respects your own intelligence and respects your own creation of life. Which the way that we were wording it was this idea of co-creation. And that's how I try to interact with my daughters. And it means that I fumble a ton because I don't really know what that looks like completely. But I want to co-create with my daughters. I don't want them to be a certain way when they get older. I want them to be creators of their own life. And I want to be there right by their side, creating my own life with them, creating an experience with them. And I think that's where our boundaries and our communication and these ideas of serving each other and being a master is, how can we co-create this life and this experience in a way that we both enjoy it, that we enjoy what we have in front of us? And I think that's what I really would love to pursue and keep learning how to have that ability to communicate in a way that's co-creating with somebody else.
I hear that you're co-creating, co-creating.
Yeah. Like I'm still trying to figure out what that means and what not even what that means for everybody, but what does it mean for me?
And I think that's it. I mean, like not again, not like the answer, but like I think that's what it is that constantly there. Has it open up? You're constantly working it out. Yeah.
Yeah, figuring out the how. And I think it kind of brings us back to the beginning of the conversation too, right? Because when these things come up and we have the awareness that a boundary needs to be set or a conversation needs to be had, these are the opportunities we get to not play small. Am I going to rob this person of the chance to address this behavior or maybe be triggered through an interaction? And that could be something they need. Or am I going to play small and just go with the flow? And I really love what you said about the co-creating with our children, because that was one of the main catalysts for me to start recognizing just how much I was conforming and playing chameleon and, going with the flow and not saying things is because I started to recognize those tendencies in my daughter. And especially now that she's becoming a teenager and it's time to step out into the world and start, creating her own life. It's necessary that she is not just going with the flow and accepting whatever is thrown at her. Absolutely not. And so I had to see what I was creating, through that behavior and through being that. And so yeah, it's time for us to step into those. For me, it's time for me to step into those opportunities because I'm giving them all the time, and I've ignored them and just gone with the flow. And I've labeled it as, oh, I'm just working on myself. I have to just let them do their own thing, and that's not always the case. It is always a co-creation.
That's great because I do have that experience as well. But I think I must have gone with the flow a little bit too long because later on, the interpretation actually was that I didn't care of all things. And also that they didn't feel safe. It left them feeling unsafe.
Yeah.
Was in the trust of who they were. And then it just, anyway, it came back. We dealt with that too, though, like we got through that also. But yeah, it was one of those awakenings later on. It was like, what? It looked like this to me, but no. One of the programs that we've been in makes it a point to say, a couple of people in the audience stand up. There are who are like in their mid-20s, and they do. And they say, everyone look, this is the age your parents were when they had you. Mostly, a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can imagine, it's kind of like give them a break and give yourselves a break. Yeah. So have some compassion there. And I was 23 when I had them. By the time they're teens, then you got hormones and hormones working together. How wonderful is that? So, yeah, what a journey.
Yeah, it's all of ours first time here.
Yes.
We all have different tools, different resources, different times. Obviously, that doesn't justify or negate any trauma or pain that we experience in our relationships, but it is when we have the emotional bandwidth for it, when we have the ability to hold space for people, it is nice to hold grace for our parents, our siblings, our coworkers, our kids, friends, parents, all the people that we have to interact with. It's good to remember it's their first time here and we don't know what they're experiencing or how they feel about it. So if we can remember in the moment to be present enough to hold grace for them, hopefully we can also hold that same grace for ourselves because we all do it to ourselves. Like Avra was saying, the way that I see and talk to and feel towards other people, it's not the same way I treat myself. Not the same patience, not the same kindness. So I don't know. It's a practice, right? Intentional
Yeah.
practice.
I feel like I give that example every time I open my mouth.
Yeah.
I think it reminds me of like what my church teaches, or my church used to say or says, is that we are children of God. And I really love that idea that we are children. No matter what age you are, you're a child here. And if you kind of look at everybody in that regard, nobody really knows what they're doing. Like
Mm-mm.
even at no any age, like you're still just every moment is fresh, every moment is new. We all have our own conditioned behaviors and like it kind of makes me think of like my evolution of like driving a car, you know. In the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, like you get frustrated at, or like you have parental behaviors that you've been conditioned with, or like someone cuts you off and you're like, ah, how dare you do that, or whatever. And then
Yeah.
like as I've recognized that in myself, I've been like, that guy's probably having a bad day, or that guy's in a rush, or that, whatever. And now it's to this point where like I don't even think about it. Someone cuts me off, I'm like, okay, cool. I don't even try to create a story for him. I just like, how do I want to react in a way that's going to be beneficial to this situation? I can't communicate with that guy. There's nothing that I can do to change what that person did, but I can be like, yeah, I don't want to be angry. I just want to be chill. I just want to react in myself. And I think it's similar to how we can interact with others is I have my body, I have my own reaction, and I can't control you. So how do I want to react and to make myself feel in the way that I want to feel and not worrying about what somebody else is going to do about it?
Our only responsibility is our own vessel. You just have to get from where you're going to where you're going safe. That's it. Who don't have to worry about why anything happens or how or anything. You just have to worry about getting there. That's it. Keep yourself safe.
And while you're waiting, getting yourself there, there's no place to get.
Yeah.
Staying in the moment.
Well, wherever you want to go, really,
Yes.
if it's
And you're
it's
already there.
Yeah. Well, we are everything experiencing this reality as something, and so it gets a little wonky sometimes.
I also hear that the spirit that you were talking about within us, as far as like a connection to God, it's an honoring of God being within. And it is missed often in, I guess you said Christianity. I don't know specifically, but definitely religion, like I would say, that it becomes the practices of, um, definitely listening, surrendering, and even that giving of oneself. Yes, being into service, you said, and all those are for us too, for us to honor ourselves and serve ourselves, and yes, and when you serve yourself, someone will call you selfish. Oh well, and yeah, that it all is in there about honoring God because He's right here.
Going back to that self-serving idea is like, if it's something we have to remember is that we are all self-serving. If we're serving somebody else, we're probably doing it because we like the feeling. We have everything that we do is our own desire. It's our own want. Even if it's something that we don't like to do, maybe there's a consequence that we don't want that's greater than if we didn't do the thing anyways. And so inherently we are doing that action because that's the desire that we have. And I think for me, I recognize that I'm completely self-serving, but also in doing that, like I serve my girls because it makes me happy. Like I love seeing them happy. I love seeing them grow up, and I love seeing them experience the world, and I love being with them. And that's because I'm self-serving. Not to say that I don't want to serve them. It's just that I do it because I love it. It's what I enjoy. And I see it just true for anybody. And so whenever I interact with somebody, I'm not trying to get them to do it in a way that's like, hey, you have to do it this way, or this is the way that I would do it, and you should do it. It's, can I get you to do it in a way that you enjoy it or that you understand it or that we're on the same wavelength. And if not, then let's figure out a different way. Or like, thinking of like projects that I have to work on with other people type of thing. How can we both be on the same wavelength so that we're both serving the same purpose in whatever it is that we're doing?
I know that when I'm serving, it's always rewarding. And that's what I could hear in what you were saying. There's the reward from serving, because when you're serving somebody else, you're contributing to them. They're both getting the gift. They're receiving the gift and you're giving the gift, and you're receiving their appreciation, even if it's only a smile, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be verbal, or just a breath that something moved. It is really rewarding. Yeah, I think that's the beauty of coaching.
It's self-serving, having other people feel good. You feel good because other people feel good.
Yeah. Well, and then you already carry that part. You have mastery in, for them to sense that and borrow that in the moment, access it and experience it. And then they have that to reference for themselves as well.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what we got for everybody today.
I think so.
Go figure out who you are, find yourself, and enjoy yourself. And in doing so, it brings enjoyment to the community and to others.
Be good to yourself.
Love yourself.
Enjoy your experience.
Bye.
I should.
Much love.
Till next time.